At the height of the Cold War, the skies were a battlefield. Surface-to-air missiles were getting faster. Radar systems were getting smarter. Fighter jets were pushing past Mach 2. And yet, for nearly 30 years, one aircraft flew directly over the world's most heavily defended airspace, and was never shot down. This was the State Route 71 Blackbird. But how did a spy plane survive against thousands of missiles? And was it really untouchable, or just misunderstood? In the late 1950s, the United States had a problem. The CIA's high-flying spy plane, the U-2, had been shot down over the Soviet Union in 1960. That incident exposed American surveillance operations and created a diplomatic crisis. The message was clear: flying high was no longer enough. Missile technology had evolved. Radar tracking had improved. The Cold War had entered a new phase. If the United States wanted intelligence from denied airspace, it needed something radically different. Not stealth, not yet. It needed speed. Extreme speed. The answer came from Lockheed's secretive Skunk Works division, led by legendary engineer Clarence "Kelly" Johnson. Their solution wasn't incremental improvement. It was revolutionary. The State Route 71 was designed to cruise above Mach 3, over 3 times the speed of sound, at altitudes exceeding 80,000 feet. But flying that fast created problems no aircraft had faced before. At Mach 3, air friction heats the surface to hundreds of degrees Celsius. Aluminum would simply melt or weaken. So engineers built most of the aircraft from titanium, a rare and difficult material to work with at the time. Even the fuel system was unusual. The plane leaked fuel on the ground because its panels expanded during flight due to extreme heat. Only once airborne did everything seal properly. This wasn't just an aircraft. It was a flying physics experiment. When the State Route 71 cruised at Mach 3.2, it wasn't just fast, it was strategic. Enemy radar could detect it. Missile systems could launch against it. But here's the key difference. By the time a missile calculated an intercept path, the State Route 71 had already moved miles away. Surface-to-air missiles rely on predicting where a target will be, not where it was. At over 2,000 miles per hour, prediction became incredibly difficult. And if a missile did get close, the official procedure wasn't to turn or evade. Pilots were trained to simply accelerate. Speed was the defense. There's a common myth that no one ever tried to shoot down the State Route 71. That's not true. Over its operational career, hundreds of missiles were reportedly launched at Blackbirds. The Soviet Union, North Vietnam, and others tracked and attempted interceptions. But no State Route 71 was ever lost to enemy fire. Several aircraft were lost due to accidents, mechanical failures, pilot error, or mid-air incidents, but never to a missile. This is important. The State Route 71 wasn't invisible. It wasn't immune. It was simply operating in a performance envelope that most defenses couldn't reliably counter. What made the Blackbird special wasn't just speed. It was speed at altitude. At 80,000 feet, the air is thin. Engines struggle. Control surfaces become less effective. Most fighter jets cannot operate effectively at that height. The SR-71's Pratt & Whitney J58 engines were designed to function almost like ramjets at high speeds. At cruise, much of the thrust bypassed traditional turbine stages and used forward momentum. This allowed sustained Mach 3 flight, something no conventional fighter could maintain. Interceptors could climb quickly, but they couldn't stay there long enough. Now here's where we separate legend from reality. By the 1980s, missile systems were improving. Soviet interceptors like the MiG-25 could theoretically reach similar speeds. Had the Cold War continued into the 1990s with newer missile systems, the Blackbird's survivability might have been tested more seriously. Technology always catches up. But during its operational window, from 1966 to 1998, it maintained a unique advantage. It existed in a narrow gap in technological history where it was simply ahead of its time. If it was so effective, why retire it? 2 reasons. First, the State Route 71 was extremely expensive to operate. Specialized fuel, maintenance, and tanker support made every mission costly. Second, satellites. By the 1980s and 1990s, reconnaissance satellites could provide intelligence without risking pilots. Space became safer than air. The era of high-risk manned overflight was ending. The State Route 71 Blackbird wasn't magical. It wasn't invincible. But for a brief, critical period in history, it outran the technology built to destroy it. It represented a philosophy of engineering rarely seen today, when the solution to danger was not stealth or electronics, but raw, overwhelming performance. In the chess game of the Cold War, the Blackbird was a move so bold, so extreme, that for decades, no one had an answer. And sometimes, in history, that's enough.